This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today, we actually have a full group. I want to welcome to the show Nolan Del Campo, our attorney at law and history buff. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Nolan.
Sunny Santa Cruz.
Nice, but still
Thank
cold.
you.
Also, our code breaker, Harriette Suchet. I'd like to welcome to the show.
Good morning and happy birthday, Nolan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. I hear it's really cold where you're at right now, Harriette.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be 40. Well, maybe 60 today, but man, it was 22 degrees this morning, so I couldn't wear the outfit I wanted to wear. So I'll be freezing my kneecaps off.
And then we also have our technical researcher, Terry Batcher. Let's welcome him to the show.
Hi.
Good morning.
I'm
you're gonna talk
glad to see you here today, Terry, because Nanette says there is things he's going to want to talk about. Jack talking about his atomic clock. Oh my God.
All right, let's wait to get there. Let's wait to get there.
Cool.
Yes.
Terry, you're going to top us all off. What's your degrees?
Did you say Terry?
Terry,
I
yes,
got
your
my volume
weather.
up.
We were all talking about the degrees that we're suffering
38.
right now. What's that?
38 degrees here. And
Is that going to be your high today?
I didn't even look. I don't trust anything they say. But maybe,
All right,
thereabouts.
Juan. You can just go stop making everybody else jelly. He just said 87 degrees in South Florida. Whatever.
Oh, must be rough.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, everybody is. All right. So last week we were discussing the possibility of names associated with Harriette and Lauren Swearingen solved, which was John Fazio or John Fazio. If you were looking at it phonetically speaking, I guess it could be spelt both ways. I was able to locate two John Fagios with G's, but they are past. There was no information on them, which isn't something that I would expect if somebody was involved in this group with the Zodiac or the politics and the big money and the mob and the CIA. But I did skip across a John Fazio with a Z, which is where we left off last week. And he was the grocery king, and he actually had stores that were forerunners to Costco and Sam's Club.
Wow.
And as I was talking to Terry about this, you were mentioning back to the Folgers, the Tennyson, some of these other high-profile crimes that had lost children throughout their business adventures, or even the politicians who had lost daughters while they were running for positions in the Senate or the Congress. So you related to me that this kind of fits right on in there with that big money scenario, right?
You said Terry or Harriette?
Yes, Terry.
Terry. Well, I was thinking right
Terry,
off the
you're
bat.
knowledgeable. We love you.
Kate LaBianca is the first thing that kind of came to mind when you were talking about what he was and the business he was in, and that's all big bucks that you're talking about. And then, yeah, exactly.
Well, we saw the
You
age.
got the right Fazio.
Yeah, this goes all the way back to Lipstick with the Office Price Administration and Susan Degman's father.
Exactly.
It goes into H.B. Tennyson, whose father, I believe, was in steel or some other major industry, and he was found suicided, and he was actually connected in some way to the Texarkana Phantom murders. So it seems like everything seems to run along this path of money, mob, CIA, and so forth.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to hop back over here to the Yeah. To the presentation, just to finish up with John so we can get back to some of these solves, because Harriette has an absolutely amazing solve, which is extremely interesting. And I think everybody will enjoy it, including Nolan, who's been watching the 9/11 events on documentaries last night, right?
Yeah. Crazy theories.
All right. Very crazy. So as I was saying before, John Fazio obviously has the life of a king, and his daughter says so when she says that she remembers when there were long lines at her father's favorite Italian restaurant, a maitre d' would appear and usher the family past waiting customers to a special table. She says, I'm thinking my dad is a king. Well, I would also have to think that there are other things at play, because we've talked about how he's gotten away with price fixing and getting his sentence commuted when he was only actually sentenced to 5 years in probation for his price fixing. So here he was doing interviews about the price wars with the Plain Dealer, one of the local Ohio newspapers, like I said, that has backed Robert Graysmith and has been involved, as we've seen throughout this presentation, with other things that they were looking to heavily promote. But either way, he's giving these interviews while he's actually price fixing things himself. And Janice, I think that's his daughter's name, Janice Fazio, indicated that her father said, well, everybody was doing it. It shouldn't have been a big deal. But I'm sorry. In my industry anyways, when somebody forges a will to inherit everything and take away from someone else, they actually lose their rights to inherit. You have committed a fiduciary fraud, then you can legally be stripped of all of your rights to your inheritance if you're found to have wanted to defraud someone's estate. So in my mind, I think about somebody who is busted for price fixing, put on probation. His sentence was commuted for one of two things in the same exact year of 1982, when he says he switches his retail experience, but he goes into bulk store type retail, just like the forerunners to Costco and Sam's Club. Let's see if I see anything else on here. No. So, yep, it says the pinnacle of John Fazio's career was his purchase of the faltering Fisher Foods grocery stores, which he and his brother Carl actually purchased with Sam Costa and his brother. But his empire collapsed when he was accused of price fixing. Well, that was in 1978, which is where things get really interesting, because the only thing I could really find on the Costas and on another individual, Joseph Thana, who was they were court officers, obviously, of all this. When they all bought in together, everybody had a role in it. But what I could find on some of these is like Joe Fana Jr., Joe Fana, 69, passed away in 2005, was born in Sicily. So again, we had an Italian relation. Sam Costa, I could only find something on Sam Costa Jr., but he did eventually go into the family business of grocery as well, leaving his job as an attorney. But what I noticed, had actually retired and moved to Boca Raton. So literally, they knew in 1978, when these charges were coming and Fazio was being accused, they knew well enough to get out, either before stock drop and sell, before everything went down the tubes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it can be done.
Yep.
Well, they knew well enough to know that the ship was sinking. They got out and they retired to Boca Raton. Wouldn't that be nice?
Sam Costa Jr. was pretty young, born in 54. At that time, he'd have been fairly young.
But it was his father. I'm thinking it was his father, because it says here that Sam joined the family business in 1982. So when Fazio is kicked out, so in 1978 is when he comes up on charges, but he's not, I don't think, convicted until 1982 or maybe 1980. He was given a 5-year probation, but in 1982 his sentence was commuted. How lucky was he? And then he moves on to just open more. He just moves on to open more stores. I'm thinking, you've already busted this guy doing something against the public, and you're going to set him on the public again? You're going to allow him to come back?
Do you have friends in high places?
His age.
That's
was 50
what I'm
when
saying.
He died. Said his age was 50. He was born in 54, and his age was.
You're
50
talking
when
about
he
the
died.
wrong one, Terry. You're talking about the wrong one. This obituary is about Junior. Okay.
Right,
If you
that's what I'm
keep going
saying.
down, it said Sam joined the family business in 1982 after closing his law practice. A graduate of Case Western Reserve Law School, Cleveland, Ohio, survived by both his parents, Sam and Sally Costa, formerly of Cleveland, Ohio, Boca residents since 1978.
Oh my God.
But don't you find
So-
his
What
young
What is
obituary is
going
fairly
on?
young in that obituary? I mean, it's not just pointing that out.
That's not the Sam Costa that bought this. Are you not hearing me?
No, I
This
get
is
that. I understand that fully. I get your point. I'm just saying that his son is gone at a fairly suspiciously
I
young
don't care
age.
about his son. I don't care
Well,
about
you
his
got it
son. I
right
care
there in
about
front of me. I don't know.
but the reason this is the only information I could find on his parents, who were formerly part of the Fisher Foods,
Okay, good point.
that got out when Fazio committed his crimes or was up for charges against it, and then he was forced to resign in 1982. We see, let's see here, when we get back, so in 1982 he is now running discount drugstores.
Mhm. Got it.
So basically
I
that was just all I could find on the Sam Costa that would have been involved with this. We know that Junior is far too young to have been the person who was involved, because Fisher Foods was purchased in 1964 by Fazio and Costas.
No, I didn't assume he was involved. I just said it's interesting that he
died at a very young age.
Yeah, that's
right?
all. That's all.
And
Did they say
suddenly
what he
and
died of?
unexpected. No, it just says suddenly and unexpectedly. So there wasn't
there you
really
go.
any
That's what
information
I'm
on
saying.
that.
That's all. That was my point. That's all.
No, I get it. I'm just saying that who I'm focusing on is what his parents did in 1978 when Fazio was accused of price fixing, and he just claims, oh, everybody's doing it. It shouldn't be a big deal. That sounds like a mob statement. Everybody's doing it. It shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, so we can all lie, cheat, and steal, because if everybody else is doing it, it makes it okay for us. Or at least we can justify the reason why we did it as that. Either way, he gets kicked out and he's capable of opening more stores, which just absolutely blows my mind. Let's see, Fazio is forced into retirement in 1982 from Fisher Foods, but just opens new stores under different names. What the hell? All right. So I was actually able to find an annual report from 1964 on Fisher Foods. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can see that the officers and directors are Carl Fazio, Sam Costa, John Fazio, Julie Kravitz, Joseph Fana, Jack N. Falcon, and Ralph Garson. And the bottom line is all of these, every single one of them that I researched came back to an Italian descent.
Sure.
It did give some actual money and number figures, and we're going to say in 1964 it looked like they had something like $19 million in assets, $20 million in property, plant, and equipment. Like it goes on. It is big money. That's a lot of money in 1964.
Yes,
absolutely.
Oh my God.
It is. Was.
And it even lists their employees' retirement benefits. It lists long-term debt. I did not know that people were taking loans from insurance companies. That sounds to me more like Hoffa style stuff. Like, wouldn't you get a loan from wouldn't you get a loan from the bank, not from an insurance company?
One would think so, but
was getting loans from Hoffa through the Teamster Pension Fund.
Right. Yeah. So it said long-term debt,
acting like a bank with a pension fund money.
Right. And who knows why they printed what they printed in here. I'm sure they're not going to say where they borrowed their money from for sure, but it says the long-term debt consists of a 5% promissory note with an insurance company payable in equal annual installments of $200,000 commencing January 15th, 1966, with the remaining balance becoming due on January 15th, 1982. So there's another crossbar there at 1982. But how do they have a note that's sitting around for 2 years? Because this is a 1964 annual report, and it says the payments don't even begin on this note until 1966.
Oh, wow. That's a spendy policy, isn't it? I mean, I would think
I don't know if you can see this, but it's got where it says Cleveland, Ohio, the cancellation stamp. It's got the Thompson seal from, and I have a ring made out of a commemoration coin from 1874. Long story, but that is an amazing Nixon connection. Trust me.
Okay.
It's got the Thompson seal from 1870. From 1700s. That was where we get our presidential seal from.
Huh.
I mean,
I noticed it only says Cleveland, Ohio. It doesn't even have like the date in it. It doesn't have any of the things I would anticipate or expect to see.
Amazing. But
yeah.
I love it.
Well, that brings us, Harriette, to your solve on the My Name envelope and letter. So you did a combination. Last week we looked at the solve that you had for the envelope, right? Now you've
it was for the letter, and keep going because
go ahead. You explain. I don't want to explain it wrong.
Because the letter portion was the majority of it. That included it was stenographic code that included the My Name is symbols, which was according to Jack himself, that was taught to Dennis, and then to me that says it was supposed to come out as Jack, my name Jack. So. And it was knowing it was supposed to connect to the envelope. And I told you it's going to take a lot longer because this envelope is a bigger project.
Gotcha. So that's what this comes from then, right? Now this is a combination of the complete letter and the envelope. All right. Well, go read that to us and then I'll shoot questions at you.
Well, I'll just be really, really quick. When I was coming up with the puzzle pieces, I set aside the diagram, the bus bomb diagram, because I thought it might have something to do with this solve. And boy, did it. Because it starts talking about Jack's atomic clock and the photoelectric.
Well, read this for us first before you explain that stuff so that people can hear what the message is.
It's saying that this part says this is a facsimile to San Francisco Examiner Randolph. Don't print bus bomb story in paper. Nixon is broke to resign August 8, 1974. Then it's got some pauses. Anyways, it says Oregonian editor, which is Hilliard, to execute order. German national Klaus Christmann. And it's because Taubeweiss, Klaus Christmann, and Fred Midler, Atlantic Recording Company daughter Bette Midler, smuggled 96 Nazi gold rings and cocaine. So they were going after those people. Anyways, then he's trying to say in 1975, he's to get even for Jesse James Coon by killing Warren F. Andrews. And then Frank Sheeran to kill cappuccino lover bum Hoffa. Pause. Fantastic opportunity. Pay $1 million for President Nixon. White House DB Cooper caper. Contact me on 901 Mission Street. Then it's another pause and he's flashbacking. Frank Wilson, sorry for printing 411 San Francisco and New York City paper files. Feldman, Mickey Finn, Frank. They all argue. George Hunter White and Sidney Gottlieb pushed Frank out the window on November 28th, 1953. Then it's a pause again. My dark room, 280-101 Northeast San Jose. And then he's trying to say something about the 66 map. It says the envelope. Discover America, arrow point west. I bomb and bus on Mount Diablo in disguise. Used string, arrows. I'll explain in a minute what that would be for. Then it says 2-inch radians. He's trying to tell you about going up the mountain. X spot at 3690 feet. Need early morning time sun by 11 a.m. Mount Diablo. I carry 1966 Patek Philippe Swiss photoelectric atomic clock. Sunlight open circuits. Then the A part is supposed to be 11 micrograms of UC Davis LSD with sherry, open superior brain. B part, what he's looking for. And when he's looking for all kinds of other people, is the Washington 2 cents peyote stamp when sun sets. Lick time window, 8:24:42 seconds to midnight for thereafter to close superior brain. Answer, ASAP, UIR, UBI, US for medium. where's the remedy? That's what he's saying. And then he's saying again, return receipt requested. Poe, Dwight Eisenhower, Saudi execute order. Shitty CIA to destroy every secret. Can't stop us. Twin Towers, United and American Airlines, 9/11/01. Did New York Post editor son, U.S. Senator Prescott Bush, his Harriman aide Ottilie, which is Ottilie Lundgren, Chip Bolin, save the B remedy on 1902 series, 1908 U.S. got the Memphis date 322 by Bureau of Printing and Engraving, Carmine Red, Cincinnati, Ohio, Shemac Perforations, ? Would you have Batty, city editor errand boy, Bob Graysmith look for these stamps, JWT. I got all of that. I didn't have to fill in much by doing this and typing it up.
All right, let me just stop everybody for 1 second, because our last solve refers to a John Fazio, whether it's Z or G. The only John Fazio with the Z I could find was in Hawaii, in Ohio, and this new solve actually talks about Ohio. I'm like, I got goosebumps right now. Like, sometimes these messages are confirming other messages and things that we're finding. That is crazy. All right, so explain some of this to us. So you have
the city editor part.
You know what? All of it. Just take it one step at a time. And if you guys have questions, please ask.
Okay, the baddie. Let me explain that part. When I saw that being second to the last before I got to the micrograms part, I said no. That would be both Jack's opinion on Robert Graysmith, but also he sent the Halloween card, the bats and all, and everything to Graysmith. So that's two things is confirming that solve is correct, that section.
And we know we have a connection between Robert Graysmith and the plain dealer out of Ohio.
Exactly.
Because they actually endorsed his book. So yeah, everything kind of just makes this nice little neat connection.
Absolutely.
Okay, I wanted to explain really quickly what he's talking about. I think it's the 2-inch radians. If you see the map, everybody knows the map in their head. If you're a Zodiac expert,
right?
It's saying that the map legend at the bottom is for 5.5 miles is 1 inch. So you got 2 inches. If you're coming in from the Davis side going up Mount Diablo, it's going to be about 11 miles to get to this spot. 2 inches radians.
And we did hear him say in that community, we're going to actually see it coming up in the little list letter where he finally breaks open and says these people aren't getting it, but it concerns radians, inches along the radians. Yeah. So and then, this is telling us something that's coming up.
The string and the arrows, Jack was very much into orienteering. Dennis would tell stories about going camping so people wouldn't get lost. It's something that's done with military, but also scouting, and anybody who's going to go on a little bit of excursion, so you won't get lost, just in case you can't use your compass. You're going to have strings and arrows. So he's also trying to point. He's trying to tell somebody, hey, I'm up here. I'm going to be up here. This is where you're going to find me. Follow the string and arrows. I'm at 3690 feet. Because the campground, the Juniper campground is at 3,000 feet. And this portion is a couple hundred feet up from the campground.
Sounds like a road trip. Sounds like a road trip.
We're going to go.
All right. Now, this 1966 Patek Philippe switch photoelectric atomic clock. Tell us about this. I guess.
I had to look it up because I'm into antiques and collectibles. I think you guys can tell. Okay, so I was born antiquing with my parents and because all kinds of stuff. So I said, wait a minute. Did they make a 1966 Petit Philippe Swiss photoelectric atomic clock? Yes, they did. And if you want to buy one now, it's $70,000 to $500,000.
Wow, that's cool.
Cheap. So this is right out of something like James Bond. He's up there.
Right?
30,000 feet, and he's getting the signal to start his clock because the sunlight is starting his clock. This is something that only if you were CIA. Man,
and doesn't the bus bomb map refer to photoelectric?
Exactly.
So he drew it himself, and he said that the sun would come up and the sun would actuate this thing, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And Dennis would often talk non-Zodiac stories to anybody who wanted to listen. He said, that son of a bitch, who killed his mom, all this other stuff. He said that son of a bitch had this damn atomic clock that was screaming. He was always asking people to help him reset it in the morning because if I'm going to hazard a wild guess that the signal had changed. If you read up about atomic clocks, this is where Terry can come in. Read up about atomic clocks. They changed the signal to make it a national thing for, millionaires or whatever it is, or companies from I think it's Colorado. So they'll
time zone, NIST.
Yeah, see?
NIST.
So he was constantly having people trying to get them to reset it because it was starting to tick.
Right, because celestial navigation for the military purposes has to be exact.
Yeah, wouldn't it also be for ham radio operators, the Weather Bureau, the news companies?
Anybody that wants very precise timing is what the key is here. Very extremely precise.
And that brings back the idea of time that floats around the Zodiac cases, the Black Dahlia, all the way back to the beginning of time theory.
Absolutely.
Now,
you also for bear. It's loaded for bear. It's loaded for bear.
All right. So another thing, you were talking about Poe. Who is Poe?
I was wondering who the hell was Poe the last time, because I was thinking it's a nickname for an editor.
Sure.
I said it can't be Randolph Hearst, but now I'm thinking, and I've tried to look up everything about the San Francisco Chronicle editor at the time, which was Charles DeYoung Thoreau. And he's from the MK Ultra period. And when you try to look up anything about him, I come up with CIA PDF files.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay. I mean, what are they saying? I'm trying. I wanted to understand more. And I'm from San Francisco, but my father did not get the Chronicle. He hated the Chronicle. I don't know exactly why. But
so you're thinking. So this message to you is saying as early as Dwight Eisenhower, they were getting involved with this this plan to destroy all the evidence inside the CIA building, which turns out in 2001 to actually be building number 7 that goes down unexplainably to everyone.
Exactly.
And it says
demolition.
It was demolition.
Controlled demolition, right.
And it talks about
admitted that.
And it talks about the Twin Towers. I mean, I'm just absolutely. I shouldn't be shocked.
United and American Airlines. There's other solves that I said to you that names the numbers of the airlines and the numbers of United, and even all the way on down to the time. So this was according to Jack's World. This was pre-planned, and it looks like they were working with the good CIA people to try to fix something that was started years ago that they know is going to happen. Jack's head is exploding at this time. It's exploding back to 1953. He's in the middle of doing something, and then he keeps seeing he's seeing Frank Olson going out the window. That's why he's trying to get that fixed, and then he's seeing it. He's trying to fix the future.
Maybe even like remote viewing, not necessarily physically watching it, but being able to put himself in these trances. So that 11 micrograms of LSD sounds a little closer to what you were saying, Nolan, about 10 micrograms, right?
Yeah.
Because she had said 100 before, and you were like, wow, that sounds outrageous.
No, it's not the microgram, just the name of it. It's LSD 25 is your standard LSD.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
I've never heard of LSD 100, but this, I think these, that 11 with Davis, it's a reference to a quantity, I guess. Or maybe a different type of LSD. That was
no, it says 11 micrograms. So he's talking about the amount here of what he's taking. Okay. So he's saying that the 11 micrograms opens the superior brain, and then the peyote stamp actually closes the superior brain.
And with the other processes of saying the serenity prayer, as it's called now, and a lot of things are going on to fix this problem. Unbelievable stuff.
Yes, because we did see that he was talking about Alcoholics Anonymous in his last one, and I know Jack carried a card, which I'm still looking for, in his own writing, where he wrote the Serenity Prayer on the back of the card and carried it in his wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a quick question. Does anyone know when the Twin Towers were erected?
It's actually, I think, the mid to latter 1960s.
Right.
Okay.
Basically,
so they were around in 74.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, by then they were around.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting to
64,
see Prescott Bush's name. He's the grandfather of George W. Bush, who was the president during 9/11. And so it's so interesting, Prescott Bush right below the Twin Towers reference.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I also thought that was interesting because we know Prescott Bush was all wrapped up in the Nazi stuff, in funneling money to support the concentration camps, the killing and genocide of people, getting across these super Jews, as Terry refers to, something like Harriette is now decoding here, where Bette Midler had brought over all of this Nazi gold and jewelry and what did it say? Oh, and cocaine. I don't know about all that, but I am sure plenty of these people. Go ahead.
Well, Dulles, Ellen Dulles, who later became the head of the CIA, was in the OSS, which is the precursor of the CIA. One of the things that we're doing right after the World War II is getting a lot of the scientists and doctors out of Germany and bring them to the United States or setting them up in South America to make them part of the American team. Crazy.
Yes.
They knew they were Nazis and they didn't care.
We talked about that in the early.
They brought over for the NASA program. He was a straight up Nazi.
Yeah. Well, and you were either a Nazi or you weren't around, though, in Nazi Germany, though, too.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that also goes back to things, Nolan, that you were saying. I talked early on, right after World War II had ended, when they busted open. You're there. I can hear you
right now, but okay.
I can hear you.
I love that Bette Midler connection. That's cool.
Well, it does go back to everything that you think, Terry. So, but I went back to the Unit 731, which they did the same thing with. I mean, these people were committing genocide. They were trying out things like syphilis, tainted candy, and all kinds of different things on children, on Americans, on their own public. And then when we busted them up, we brought those scientists here so that they could help us. I mean, and what? We give them housing, we give them a place to live, we pay them a paycheck. I think that's how a lot of these Nazi survivors made it here and were able to live incognito until somebody actually busts them, because we made it possible for them to do that.
Right.
Well, Dulles,
strange.
He had a lot of connections with the Nazis.
Oh yeah, you're talking strange politics and strange bedfellows. It's old as everything, you know. It really
it's all about money and research. Research research they say they can't do on us here, but we can show by 39 different Warren reports that they have literally perpetrated all these types of experiments at one point in time or another on us.
Yeah.
Just on a side note, Frank Olson was in on an experiment done. I guess it was a CIA experiment. It was done in like 1952, a couple years before he was killed, in San Francisco, where they had these boats and they shot out these gases into the air, and a lot of people in San Francisco got sick, and some people died.
Yes. That's with Frank Olson, right? He was part of that.
Yeah, Frank Olson was part of that. Part of the guys that carried out that experiment. That's in the book on the biography of Frank Olson by Altobelli.
One quick question. That's cool. I have one quick question, or it's a statement. Harriette, you had to have a lot of time into doing this, didn't you? This is really.
Oh yeah, look at these. Yeah, this is her
I
solve.
know.
This is
Right.
accounting
That's
for
what I'm
every
getting at.
letter in that
Mhm.
particular message, and then
Wow.
transposing those letters or anagramming those letters out to the message that it
Mhm.
became.
Wow. Great
That's
work.
a lot of work.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of work. That's cool.
And
That's cool.
I got many more pages on that because I make sure I save my work just in case in the future somebody wants to say, well, can you show us everything how you went from point A to point B? I'll be like with the
Absolutely.
stack of papers for this
Yeah.
one.
Publish
Right.
it in
Right.
publish it in 10 different places if you can. Another 10 secretly. I'd cover. I wouldn't take any chances on the birds we're dealing with these days.
Hmm.
Really. So you know that. You all know that.
Well, yeah.
Hmm.
And that brings us, you guys, to the Kathleen Johns letter. So Zodiac, after abducting Kathleen Johns and her baby and her escaping and making it to the police department and making an identification of the composite as being her abductor of the Zodiac Killer, we then have this letter that comes out well beyond the time frame. So again, I keep talking about the motive for these messages when everybody is already aware that Kathleen Johns was abducted and that she declared that her abductor matched the composite of the Zodiac Killer. So either this message has some other meaning months after, or well, I guess there really is no or. It doesn't make any. A lot of these messages don't make sense with their timing. Like I was saying before, with double messages at different points in time claiming 13 victims, 14 victims. We looked at that, I think, the week before last. But this letter comes out well after the public is very aware that this woman had been kidnapped. So you'll hear some of the Zodiac researchers claiming that he only took credit for it because it was all the information in this letter was already in the news. Well, then that means there's no need for this message. If this message was him taking credit for something he didn't do, then that means he's putting this message out there for a completely different purpose. So this message reads,
That's
this is
not
the
his
Zodiac.
MO.
What's that?
That's not his MO, taking credit for stuff he doesn't do. But he
he's not.
He also does say just the opposite, that there was stuff out there that he's done that nobody knows about. That nobody knows it's him,
Exactly.
that he did it
Yeah, he has
under
knowledge.
different guys.
He has
Exactly.
extreme inside knowledge.
Extreme. So he says in this is the Zodiac speaking. I am rather unhappy because you people will not wear some nice buttons. So I now have a little list, starting with the woman and her baby that I gave a rather interesting ride for a couple hours one evening a few months back that ended in my burning her car where I found them. Signed, the Zodiac symbol. So we see that a lot of the linguistics that I have listed over here, the spelling errors and the other things, are all very consistent with the Zodiac messages. They did accept this one in the FOIA files as an actual authentic letter. They did say that there were cells found of DNA on it, but I'm not sure where or what portion of the letter it was found on. But he's already starting to talk about this little list, as Harriette believes, and your solves are showing, is a list of people that he is killing or calling out in retribution for the Kennedys.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Something like, well,
Yeah,
he also wants to get paid for his work.
Yeah.
Everything
I'm
he did
also-
was cryptic. Everything he did was cryptic. Everything
Yeah.
was encrypted.
Yeah.
Cryptic.
Yeah, there was
Well, and I'm
somebody
wondering-
last name Little that was working with, Bobby Kennedy in the 1950s that became a part of the Get Hoffa squad. So there was a list that they were going after. But I'm also seeing now through these, because I'm finding out that this one is also 1974-ish. But the little list might also be, I'm seeing lately, this list of things that he needs to get off of MK Ultra, and not get just him off, but all these other people that were pre-programmed to do some really horrible destruction.
Right.
So,
And that
anyway.
takes us back to the Dear Draft Board letters, where he's complaining about the migraines, the headaches, the fogginess,
Right.
all the things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you say that you caught what's his name now? That he had misstated the dates that these things were actually published. Our friend Voight, didn't he?
Well, Harriette
the dates
believes,
intentionally.
yes, Harriette believes that these postmarks were, but if these postmarks
code.
were, done for code versus done for reality, which is when they were actually sent. So she believes that yes, these could have been manipulated to appear to have been sent at this time frame, and being they were not shown to the public, we wouldn't have or known the difference. We're hindsight catching up.
What does Tom Boyd only have? Scans. So
right.
I'm honestly feeling like this. Why didn't I pick up on this years ago that most of this might only be scans, of something sent electronically, something sent by mail, but only the millionaires and the billionaires, military governments could do this in the 1960s and 70s. Nobody had that kind of machinery, Right. So, anyways,
and we've often questioned
tenacity. You're forgiven via your tenacity. So
there's always been this big question about how Zodiac was able to move his mail. So maybe just like Harriet's saying that these weren't necessarily sent through the mail as much as everything was done in a manner in which to convey a message, no matter what time frame they were received at.
Yep.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Dennis said just really quickly, when he was trying to find, even before he met you, Nanette, he would tell the stories about how I was trying to find the physical letters that have stepfather's handwriting on it. And the police said, we only really have the Zodiac Halloween card in the envelope, and the rest, where is it? So it's now, again, there's the envelope was stashed somewhere, and we did hear years later that the Chronicle or somebody at the Chronicle found some envelopes, that were suspected Zodiac things. I mean, we can go on and on, but that's the whole long drawn out point. Even Dennis was told, you got scans. That's it.
You were kind of breaking up and out a little bit. I was catching what you were saying. So Dennis has indicated, which we all know, that all of the evidence in these cases have gone missing. We've talked a lot about that. So it's almost as if that destruction even spoke about in this last solve, where the CIA needs to destroy all the information about and this boils down to, you said Helms, Nolan, with the CIA and MK Ultra needing to destroy all the files accidentally coming out. I think that the CIA finally rationalized that the only way that they could ultimately decimate all the information necessary was to take the entire building down, so that no computers could be found to have information on them. No files could be accidentally misplaced somewhere, like the 30,000 that were misplaced in the MK Ultra program, or the 270 trillion. And I'm not sure which Bush. Nolan, do you know which Bush has been accused of misappropriating the 270 trillion of our Social Security funds?
I don't know which one. No, it might have been the dad, Prescott's son, George.
First president.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Magog Bush. Magog.
Yeah, he was also the head of the CIA under Gerald Ford, too.
Poppy.
Poppy.
Yeah. They call him Poppy. It's Poppy Bush.
Okay.
But I'm in control of all things. That was a Zodiac quote right there. I mean, you look at this, and somebody was in control of all things, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
he was definitely in control of all messages and incoming information, for sure. And that brings me back to the ego of somebody who thinks they're in control of all things. You have to be pretty much in control to think you're in control.
Right.
And to have politicians running around with their heads cut off like chickens, that really kind of astonished me when I finally found those letters in regards to the ghost killer that said that. Because why would any politician be scared of a serial killer? I don't see any reason why politicians would have to fear that, unless that serial killer, like was it Percy? There was several of the politicians where their daughters ended up being killed while they were running for office. That he could get into these houses, like you said, Terry B, with intimate knowledge of where to go to the bedroom to kill that child and make it out without getting caught. You have to have inside knowledge.
Right. How about this right-hand column you've got here with the misspelled words? You've got something to say about that, right? And you've got the L2. You've got the
references to rather.
Yes.
So is that possible an allusion to Dan Rather? And when it says
No.
hours,
rather is
hours.
Right. Rather was the fussy linguistics that the professor from UC Davis stated that both Zodiac and Jack shared in their communications. So that hyper fussy linguistics, basically. So that refers to I've seen this used in several of his communications. So whenever I found a match, what I was looking to do was obviously determine whether or not all these letters were written by the same person. So the DLSE is a double letter spelling error, as we saw in couple. The letter E addition in woman, because that E does not belong there. The letter E error, in which case he failed to put an E in where it needed to be. And then L8 is another spelled incorrectly word, hours. Again, when we take a look at the way these things are done, we see large spacing where we see misspelling, which tells me that he is literally having some signal issues, but should be okay. Okay. We're going to try and make it through. We only have a few more minutes.
The hours looks like Bowers, too.
And who's Bowers?
Is part of the JFK assassination in Dallas. And the
right. All deliberate stuff. It's absolutely all deliberate, whatever it may be.
Right.
It's deliberate there.
Yeah. I hardly believe that the Zodiac. I hardly believe the Zodiac can spell the word consternation, but can't spell the word woman.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Consternation. You ask most people what consternation means, and most people wouldn't even be able to say what it means.
Right.
That's amazing. And you know what? And that was used by a cop in the OCCK case on the King family. Mm-hmm. I thought, that bastard to use that word. That tells you something. To use consternation on one of the kids after Tim King was snatched. That's big, I think.
Well, that brings us to the solve that Harriette actually has for the Kathleen Johns letter. Do you want to read that, Harriette?
Yeah, I think I can see it.
Okay.
No, I think I can see it. It says basically at the bottom, it says Examiner President R.H. or Randolph Hearst, care of the San Francisco Chronicle. I.O. That's documents, years of documents in a row. It's saying Navy McCain's son. Then he's referring to B cutouts, and then Defense Department 1969 that he sent in 1969.
Hold on. So let me stop you real quick there so people understand. We have already covered the Leo and Cancer with the SAC B cutouts that was mailed to Sacramento B. Mm-hmm. So there's the connection there. Exactly. So okay, keep going.
Gotcha.
So then it's John is McCain, and then John is Sister Susan's boyfriend, Lightning Amen and Louis Beam Commission, one pretty infant adoption for two people in Tracy, California, on March 22nd, 1970. He's saying, Jack, to get even for Army SP4 Jesse James Coon. He's obsessing with that. That's the guy who saved his son, he says many times later on. Anyways, and then he's saying for what happened on April 23rd, 1968. And then he's saying, Randolph, return receipt requested. Now he's tripping again. Frank Olson, sorry for printing. CIA New York 411 and San Francisco 411 papers. And then he's saying Senator Prescott Bush era, EG, can't stop us. Frank I, then he's pausing. Ira Gottlieb, LSD, Dwight Eisenhower, Saudi execute order. Then he's talking about the 9/11/01 again, destroy paper. Then he's saying it's what I got. It's 3,066,890,000,000 files. Going to crash. United Airlines Flight 175, Flight 11, American Airlines, Twin Towers, And then he's saying, Randolph, UIR. Again, ubi jus remedium. Where is the damn remedy? 999, that's the remedy to fix what's going to happen. And then it's saying, again, jus remedium 999. Where is the reverse evil order remedy? Terrence.
Wow.
Wow. All right, you guys, that put us at 11:50. I know I probably only have a few seconds we were going to come back on this next one, Harriette. We're going to do some pre-records on Monday. So if you guys want to be around for that, that will be great. But we'll pick up where we left off so that you can explain this.
I'll be there.
Thank you guys for your input today.
Monday.
It's been 9. I'll get back with you guys.
Okay.
But yes,
right.
So everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Harriet.
This was very insightful.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. You're important to us. We love you.
We love you too.
Y'all are important to me. How about that? You guys have a great
Okay.
weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye.